In the headlines, we'll tell you why the Supreme Court has ordered James Gyakye Quayson to stop holding himself as MP for Assin North. GES invites NIB to probe corruption allegations in SHS computer placement. Police arrest sword-brandishing suspect in viral video, and tennis player Nii Ankrah explains why he did not react when the French player slapped him. Welcome to the news in brief on Graphic Online. The NDC Member of Parliament for Assin North, James Gyakye Quayson, has been ordered to stop holding himself as an MP until the determination of a suit challenging the constitutionality of his election. A 5-2 majority decision on Wednesday also ordered him to abstain from any parliamentary business and also refrain from engaging in activities pertaining to an MP.
The injunction application was filed by a constituent of Assin North, Michael Nii, who secured judgments from the Cape Coast High Court nullifying Mr. Quayson's election on the basis that he held a Canadian citizenship at the time he filed to contest the seat. The applicant argued that despite the judgment of the Cape Coast High Court, Mr. Quayson continues to parade himself as a sitting MP. The Supreme Court today considered the view that the High Court in Cape Coast has declared the election of Mr. Quayson as null and void, and therefore allowing him to continue as an MP while the constitutional issue was yet to be determined will be an indictment of the administration of justice. Also, the court held that the whole country would suffer a greater hardship if Mr. Quayson was allowed to continue to serve as an MP, and the court determines that his election violated the 1992 Constitution. In the dissenting opinions, Justice Doji and Amegacha were of the view that the Supreme Court was not the right forum for the applicant and that all he needed to do was to enforce the judgment of the High Court.
The Supreme Court has in earlier cases decided the proper time for reckoning whether a person is qualified to contest for Parliament is the opening of nominations, the period between the opening and close of nominations. If within that time you're not qualified, you cannot be qualified at all later on. So for me, this is a sound application of a principle of law that long been established by the Supreme Court.
And still go around holding himself as a citizen of this country. From day one, when the judgment of the High Court was rendered, it was manifestly obvious that James Gyakye Quayson could not hold himself out as a member of Parliament.
The Supreme Court has given its ruling, but we vehemently disagree with their position. I think that it is a sad day for all of us. That if what it means is that Assin North is also not going to have representation in Parliament.
The Ghana Education Service has written to the National Investigations Bureau requesting for investigations to be conducted into allegations of corruption in the placement of students under the computerized school selection and placement system.
There have been a series of allegations of corruption associated with the placement of students into various senior high schools under the CSSPS, with some parents and members of the public claiming that some persons are collecting monies and effecting changes in the placement exercise. In some instances, fingers have been pointed to top officials of the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, computerized school selection and placement system, and the Free Senior High School Secretariat. In a letter dated April 5, 2022, addressed to the Director General of NIB, signed by the Director General of the GES, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwah, and seen by Graphic Online, the GES stated that management will be grateful if the NIB could launch a full-scale investigation into the allegations to establish their authenticity or otherwise.
On Tuesday, a 16-second video clip circulated widely on social media. It captured a bearded man wielding a sword and threatening someone. He has been arrested by the police.
In a statement, the police named the suspect as Osman Brustani, who is currently in police custody. The police said he will be taken through the due process of the law. The statement said, before the arrest, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, reached out to the victim via a telephone call, and the conversation was clear that the victim had been traumatized by the event. Upon the IGP's instruction, the victim has been given psychological support by a clinical psychologist from the police hospital, and the IGP also followed up with a personal visit to the victim today.
Come on! Allah will get you there. Come on! Come on! Come on! Yeah.
And in our final story, Nii Ankrah, the young tennis player who was slapped by his French opponent during the first round of the J5 Accra Tennis Foundation Ghana Open last week, says he did not react to the incident because he wanted to progress into the competition.
The 16-year-old told Graphic Online that although his immediate thought was to hit his opponent and #1 seed Michael Kwame with his racket, he held back because he felt he was in a good position to win the tournament. Ankrah spoke to Graphic Online on the sidelines of a press briefing in Accra and said his coach on the sidelines also helped him to keep his emotions in check.
Going to the net was maybe like, it was the usual maybe handshake greetings, like huggings when we are done with the match and awesome. But when I go to the net, he shake me and then slap me after the handshake. That's what happened at the net.
And why didn't you react in a violent manner as normally it would be expected of? Why didn't you react violently?
I saw my coach from afar begging me not to retaliate. Else me too, like I would have been penalized. So that's why I didn't retaliate.
Okay, and after that slap, that unfortunate incident, you ended up playing in your first final, the first final of your young career. What was the motivation? Was the slap any motivation? One may ask.
No, the slap wasn't the motivation. Me beating the #1 seed in the tournament was the motivation to make me do more to get to the finals. And it happened.
And in the final, what went wrong for you?
I would say the guy I played was more aggressive, so he was able to win the match.
News in Brief was brought to you by Graphic News Plus.
Download your Graphic News Plus now and choose your preferred package daily, weekly, monthly, and annually, and access free news on various interest areas as well. Graphic News Plus, connecting people through news.
Thank you for watching. Stay safe and protect yourself from COVID-19. For more news, visit graphic.com.gh or log on to Facebook at Daily Graphic and on YouTube at Graphic GH. I'm Amaicha Amankwa Befi.